Imagine this, a crowded bus ride home after school, chatter filling the air. But then, silence. All eyes turn as a sneering boy orders a quiet black girl to the back of the bus, his words dripping with racism. Everyone freezes, waiting to see if she'll shrink away. But what happens next? Nobody could have predicted. Because that girl, she didn't just move. She fought back in a way so powerful, the entire world would soon be talking about it. The old school bus rattled along its usual route, carrying tired students home after a long day. At the very front, kids laughed loudly, tossing jokes and snacks across the aisle. Toward the middle sat Amara Johnson, her books neatly stacked in her lap, earbuds in, eyes focused on the rain-splattered window. She wasn't the kind to draw attention, she preferred silence over confrontation, poetry over gossip. But that day, silence wasn't given to her. "Hey," a voice barked from 2 rows ahead. Chad Whitman, a tall boy with a mean grin and a reputation for torment, twisted in his seat. He was the kind of bully who fed on fear, who wore arrogance like a crown. His friends laughed at everything he said, no matter how cruel. "Seats up here aren't for you," Chad sneered, pointing backward. "You belong in the back. Everyone knows that." The words hung heavy, poisonous. A hush fell over the bus. Some kids looked down at their laps, pretending not to hear. Others glanced at Amara, then quickly away, as though afraid her shame might spill onto them. Amara's stomach tightened. She had heard comments before, whispers in hallways, jokes not meant as jokes. But never something so public. Never with so many witnesses. Her first instinct was to shrink. To slide out of her seat quietly, to avoid the storm. But then she thought of her grandmother, an aging woman who still carried the scars of marches and protests, who used to tell Amara, "Silence is what they count on. Don't give it to them." Amara slowly removed her earbuds. She turned, her deep brown eyes meeting Chad's. "No," she said softly, but firm enough to echo down the bus aisle. Gasps rippled. Chad smirked wider. "What did you say?" "I said no. I'm not moving." The laughter from his friends grew louder, filling the silence like a shield. But beneath that noise, something was shifting. Kids who never spoke up began to sit straighter, watching. Amara felt her heart pounding, but she held her ground. Chad stood, swaggering toward her row. His shadow loomed as he leaned close. "Maybe you didn't hear me. Back. Now." For a moment, Amara thought she might break. Her hands trembled around her books. But instead of shrinking, she stood. Her voice shook at first, but steadied as the words poured out. "You don't get to tell me where I belong. I'm not less than you. Not here, not anywhere." The bus fell silent. Even the driver's eyes flicked up to the mirror. Amara's pulse raced, but she refused to sit back down. Chad laughed harshly, masking his unease. "What are you gonna do, huh? You think you're some kind of fighter?" Amara swallowed, her courage fueled by anger now. "No. I think I'm human. And you're going to stop treating me like I'm not." A girl in the back whispered, "Yes." Another student pulled out a phone, recording. And in that instant, something inside Amara shifted. She wasn't just standing for herself anymore, she was standing for every quiet kid who had ever been told to shrink by the next morning. Amara's world had changed. The video was everywhere. Millions had watched her stand her ground, watched her voice crack but never falter, watched her courage outshine cruelty. News outlets picked it up. Teen refuses to back down against racist bully. Social media exploded with support. Hashtags with her name trended, messages of love poured in from strangers across the globe. But with the spotlight came pressure. At school, students whispered when she passed. Some clapped her on the back, calling her a hero. Others avoided her, afraid to be pulled into the drama. And Chad, humiliated, furious, glared daggers at her whenever their paths crossed. Amara felt the weight of it all pressing on her chest. She hadn't asked for fame. She had only wanted respect. Yet now, her every move seemed like a test. One afternoon, as she sat alone in the library, a teacher approached her. Mr. Daniels, the history teacher known for his calm wisdom. You did something brave, Amara, he said gently. But courage doesn't end when the cameras turn off. The real fight is what you do next. That night, she thought about it. About her grandmother's stories, about kids who had nobody to speak for them. She realized she couldn't just go back to being invisible. She had been given a voice and people were listening. The next day, instead of sitting quietly on the bus, Amara stood in the aisle before it started moving. Her voice carried steady now. Nobody, she said, looking at the faces around her, should be told they don't belong. Not on this bus, not in this school, not anywhere. And I won't stop standing up for that. The bus erupted in cheers. Even kids who'd once been silent raised their voices, clapping, chanting her name. Chad slumped low in his seat, his power crumbling under the weight of her resolve. He wasn't the leader anymore. She was. And Amara knew then this wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of a movement. A reminder that one voice, when used with courage, could echo far louder than hate. Sparkle's closing message for viewers. And just like that, a girl who once preferred silence became a voice the world couldn't ignore. Her story is proof, when you stand up, even shaking, you stand for more than yourself. You stand for everyone who's ever been told to sit down.